X-Men Blue, number 2. X-Men Gold, number 2. The Button, part 2. All the comics we're going to be talking about today on episode number 10 of Pay It or Slay It. Stay tuned, everybody. Hey Frontline fans, welcome back to Comic Frontline and fans. You're back with me, Mike Spider Slayer. Yes, bringing you episode number 10 of Pay It or Slay It. If you guys are not familiar with this series, this is the series where I bring a random of 10 comic books that I read for the week, and I discuss them and I help you make this decision if you should pay for that book or you should slay that book. That's right, guys. So without further ado, let's get started and let's talk about this week's first book. And the first one we're going to be talking about this week is, bam, Flash, issue number 21. That's right, guys. Now, the first issue of this story was phenomenal in Batman. It was like the opening scene of a movie where you got to see Batman get his ass kicked by Reverse Flash, but Reverse Flash winds up getting killed, and it was just completely awesome. Now we go into the second act of this actual story, and it was absolutely outstanding as well. It was really a great read as you get to see the investigative sides of things in this particular book, which I thought was really, really awesome. The best thing on here was Barry going through the crime scene and actually just trying to put together the pieces here, which I thought was really awesome. And he's trying to find out how Reverse Flash died, and he's letting the reader know about who Reverse Flash is and what type of powers that he has and how he's different from Flash, which I thought was really cool. In the book, we wind up seeing great dialogue between Bruce and Barry, trying to piece things together on this investigative sides of things. And this was a really good book because, you know, Batman's a detective, Flash is a forensic person, and it was just cool to see these guys really work together. So they go hand in hand with each other. Flash says he goes to the Justice League Watchtower, and then he winds up revealing the treadmill, saying, you know what, I was never going to use this again because this is what happened in Flashpoint. This caused all kinds of problems, but this is that rainy day. I got to use it. But then the next thing you wind up seeing is that you have Batman in here that comes along. He's all injured, and he's like, I'm joining you. And he's like, you can't, you're hurt. He's like, yes, I can do it. And so they wind up going on the treadmill, and they travel through time, and they run through different, you know, different Earths and whatnot, and you know, they're piecing together things about what Wally said to them about how they lost years. All kinds of trouble goes through the treadmill, and then we wind up seeing that they wind up going back in time, or go back to Flashpoint, and they wind up seeing Thomas Wayne. So and we can see that Bruce was very shocked about the whole thing, and then that's how it ends. So I really enjoyed the Flash issue number 21. I thought it was a great book. I love the interaction between Barry and Bruce. I thought that's what made this book shine this time around. Seeing those two come together and work together, I thought was really cool. So I say definitely pay for this book. This is a great story. One of the bright spots, obviously, in DC Rebirth. So let's move on to the next book. The next one we will have is, bam, Grim Fairy Tales, issue number 5. Now, Patrick Shan used to write Grim Fairy Tales towards the latter half of the first volume. And I felt that the book had a lot of great direction in there and introduced a lot of great characters. And now Patrick Shan is no longer on this title, and we're doing a different volume. Again, this is volume 2, issue number 5. And we're getting introduced really to Sela Mather's daughter, Sky, in this book. And she is the protector of the Nexus of all these different types of realms. And even though it's cool to see her daughter take over that legacy, the book itself has been very weak. It's very one-shotty. There's no real depth to the book. And in this time around, we wind up seeing Sky. She winds up getting handed this sword, and his sword has these different gems, and it's supposed to protect her in her darkest moments. And you're like, okay, cool. And they spent very little depth on this particular sword. The main part of this story is we wind up seeing these little pixies that are like flesh eaters. They wind up eating people alive, and then they wind up going to the main host and giving the host powers, which is pretty weird. The art in this book is cool, but it's so weird because it could be a porn book. It could be a Playboy, which, you know what, I'm a guy, I like, you know, women and stuff like that, but there comes to a point where it just, you know, it just goes overboard. Like, the book just kind of sells the sex in this issue. It's like that's what they're relying on. So anyway, when you wind up reading this book, you wind up seeing Sky. She gets teleported through this dimension, and she goes to the Neverland dimension, and she winds up coming across like Tinkerbell type of character, right? And she winds up saying, oh, we gotta save this land. They're draining all these powers. The fairies or pixies are draining all these powers from these people, and they're flesh eating these people, and you wind up seeing them getting attacked, and you wind up coming across the main creature here, who's this gigantic, like, evil fairy. I think her name is Nyx, and she's like, literally, dude, she's like completely naked, and she's got like wings, and she's got this white hair, and she winds up battling like the Tink character, and she's like pretty much completely naked. There's like two naked people with wings flying around fighting each other, and then all of a sudden Sky uses the sword, because we forgot about the sword in the issue, about how like they have these gems and they're supposed to be these protectors, and she's like, I could use this sword, and I could use it to stop these fairy things, and that's what she does, and they all wind up draining the evil fairy's power, and she's like, oh, thank you, you saved Maryland, and she holds up her sword, she's like, yeah, I saved the day, and that's basically the issue. There's no real depth behind this book. It's so one-shot. It's just like, hey, I'm just gonna do this, and I'm gonna do this, and then at the end she's like, I think I'm getting used to this deal now. So after 5 issues of her just feeling around her powers, are we gonna get a real in-depth story, or are we just gonna get naked people flying around all the time? And just with the costume, it just, listen, I like artwork, I like the way they look, but I just don't feel it fits the book. It's just what they use to wear to fight. It's not practical, right? I mean, you're gonna get injured. Anyway, I say slay the book. This book is just not worth it right now. I've given it 5 issues. I may continue to read it just for the pure reason I've been reading Grim Fairy Tales forever. And, but this is just, the direction it's going is nowhere. So definitely slay this book. It's not worth it. But it's not worth me tearing it up, though. That's what I could say. But slay it. Stay away from it. Alright. Next book we're going to be talking about is, bam, Hulk. Issue number 5. This book as well, I like it. And I feel that I know where it's going to go, but they're stalling the reveal of what Jennifer Walters should become. And what I did like about this book is going back to the past, right after the war, when she wakes up from her coma, and we wind up seeing her, you know, talking to Carol, excuse me, talking with Carol about how Carol wants to be there for her, and how, you know, she's sorry about what happened, and, you know, during this war, and it caused, you know, how it caused her cousin's death. And we wound up seeing that Jen winds up kind of going a little bit batty here, where she winds up seeing Bruce, and she's, you know, dealing through those emotions. We didn't know how she would deal with it, and seeing her in that bed was kind of awesome. And then what happens is she has this dream, and she winds up, you wind up seeing how she actually becomes the Hulk the first time, but you actually don't really see the creature. You just see how she became this different beast, and how she's not used to being that creature. And it was really awesome to see that part. But then once you get past that particular part, the book dropped off for me. It's kind of like where we've been with this series from issue number 1. We have Jennifer Walters dealing with our mysterious character who's a dark entity in herself, on how she became this, you know, this weird creature, and how, you know, Jennifer Walters feels like how Jennifer has been trying to help this character, but then she's, you know, failed her in many ways, and it's just been this ongoing thing throughout the entire series where nothing has progressed. By the time you wind up getting to the end of this issue, it looks like you wind up seeing Jen is going to be forced to turn into the Hulk and now face this creature. It's just one of these things that has been drawn out way too long. We've seen it coming, and we've seen it building, and it's just they've been delaying it and delaying it and delaying it, and the story just has not progressed whatsoever, and so it's very frustrating. So this time around, it's not as high up on my list, but I say definitely continue to pay for the book. I think this book will go in a positive direction once we get the reveal of the Hulk. They've just been stalling it for the very long time. So yeah, guys, I say pay for the book. I think it's an interesting and intriguing book, but at the same time, when is there a point where we draw the line and say, enough, let's see the beast already? Alright, so moving forward now, we're going to be talking about our next book, and the next one is, bam, Weapon X, issue number 2. Now, if you guys want to see an in-depth review on this book, go ahead, check it out. I did the review on it, and yeah, I think it's a pretty good series. One of my favorite X-Men books up to this point. I think the strong thing that we get to see in this series is that the introduction to characters. In some series, we get all the characters at one time, and they overwhelm you with bits of information of each particular character. Excuse me. In this book, we wind up seeing another character, and we see Warpath. So Warpath is introduced into this book, and we get to see his power set, we get to see what he can and can't do, and then we wind up getting to see Weapon X in this particular issue, where Weapon X kind of tricks Warpath by, you know, using this helicopter with a dummy that's flying it, and then these horses that are cyborg horses, and they wind up attacking Warpath. The great thing about this book is the humor in this issue that counteracts the seriousness of this book as well, where we get to see this Weapon X, who's this crazy company or facility that captures mutants and does these crazy sick experiments to them, but seeing them, you know, go after Warpath and them watching it on TV was hysterical, like it's a TV show or a football game. They're like watching sodas and eating hot dogs, or watching sodas, drinking sodas, eating hot dogs, and doing all these crazy things while they're trying to catch Warpath, which I thought was hysterical. The balance between action, story, great artwork is all in this book, and I definitely say go ahead and pay for this book, guys. This is a really great book. It has a lot of great action in here, and the banter between Sabretooth and Wolverine are actually awesome in this book. So pay for the book. Check out the review that I did in depth on it. Alright, so next book that we're going to talk about today, guys, is bam, Kill or Be Killed, issue number 8. This continues to be a top-notch independent book by Ed Brubaker, as we get to see the story of Dylan, who's become this psychotic killer, and we find out that in the last issue, based off of on-again, off-again girlfriend Kira, that he's not taking his medication, he's like taking this Valium, and now he's like this demon that says that he needs to feed or he'll die. Is just fake. It's all in his brain. But I guess he doesn't realize that. So in this particular issue, we wound up seeing that it's been like 25 days since he's killed this cop, and we get to see that everyone is on high alert in this particular book. The cops are on high alert, they're checking bags everywhere, they're trying to really go after and find this guy, and I thought it was pretty cool to see this, and he's getting their kick out of this. He's like, man, this is kind of awesome. He's like, makes you feel real powerful that, you know, that they're on this high alert after all this particular time. But one of the crazy things is that he's losing his interest with his girlfriend, and all he does now is he kind of thinks about Kira. And with this girlfriend is that he's just kind of there, and he doesn't hear her. You know, it's kind of like the Charlie Brown syndrome. Wah, 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 wah. And he's thinking about this other girl. And he kind of thinks about how this was like the downfall of his last relationship also. And then we also found out that in this issue that that they did catch somebody, but it was the wrong person. So that was quite interesting as well. And by the time we wound up getting to the end of this issue, we wound up seeing that Dylan has to do another kill, or he feels like he's going to die himself. And that he's been getting kind of sloppy about certain things. And then at the very last part of this issue, we wound up seeing that he's trying to get his medication through his little drug dealer. But then I guess the pimp that was, you know, the pimp that was for all the girls in the strip club, the Russian girls or whatever that he killed in the beginning or whatnot, is kind of coming back and is looking for Dylan because he knows that this is the guy that killed all his people and sent all his girls running. So that was quite interesting too, the way this ended. Overall, guys, this is a great book. Kill or Be Killed is absolutely awesome. The narration in this book is what makes this book, because Dylan is the one that is talking to the reader, and it makes you really invested in his story. So I think it's awesome. So definitely pay for Kill or Be Killed. Alright, so moving forward now, we're going to go on to our next book. And our next book, guys, is, bam, X-Men Gold, issue number 2. X-Men Gold for me this time around was good, but it wasn't as strong as the previous issue. I think the first issue wound up being a little bit stronger, as you got to see Kitty Pryde really be that leader, and you got to see the core characters being involved again, and them interacting with each other really nicely, and being the Xavier Institute wound up being dropped in Central Park, which I thought was pretty neat. But this time around, we wound up seeing it become a little bit more serious, and we wound up seeing the Brotherhood of Mutants battling the team, which took up a good portion of this particular issue. And then we wound up seeing a new antagonist in this particular book, and her name is, I think it's Lydia Nance, who wants all mutants to be deported, wants them to stay in their own vicinity, kind of like what we're going through in politics today, which is very, you know, what X-Men comics are about, you know, on the social issues that they're going through. We wound up getting to see Captain America in this book, which I kind of thought was a little bit of a, where do we stand here with Captain America? Is this before Secret Empire? Is this him still keeping cover? Is this after? Like, so you're not really clear on that. And I didn't really think Captain America needed to be shown in this particular issue. Logan was captured, but then you wind up seeing him escape real quickly, and we wind up seeing Kitty Pryde in this issue trying to find out, you know, where her missing comrades are, and yet then you wind up seeing Logan going, hey, yeah, we're over here, coming to this address. So I didn't really think that this story was progressed very much, and I'm not sure exactly what direction we're going with this series yet. I guess we're going to do another part when it comes to this Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, but it was just okay for me this time around. It was above average, but I just thought there could have been something more. Something just felt missing this time around, and yeah, so we'll see where it goes. So, but nevertheless, if you're looking for X-Men, if you're looking for the classic team, and that kind of that classic feel to it, I say pay for the book. Issue number 2 was good, but not as strong as the first issue. Alright, let's move along. Our next book that we're going to be talking about today is, bam, Green Lantern, or Hal Jordan and the Green Lantern Corps, issue number 19. Really strong series at this point. Like I said last time when I talked about this book, we get the the combination of the Green Lantern Corps and the Sinestro Corps members working together. And in the last issue, we wind up seeing that Rip Hunter came through an anomaly. And we wind up finding out that he's saying that the Green Lantern Corps is going to cease to exist. And we wind up seeing that John Stewart and Hal Jordan have a tough time trusting Rip Hunter in the particular issue, but they feel that they need to listen to him because this could be something that's very serious. So we find out that we have our our main enemy in this book, and he is a character that despises the Green Lanterns and wants to get rid of the Green Lanterns completely. And he tells his particular story to the Yellow Lantern and the Green Lantern book that are in there, and he sits there and he says, yes, the Green Lantern Corps and the Sinestro Corps, you know, all merge into one. The Sinestro Corps becomes a Green Lantern Corps, and he goes, I'm the last of the Yellow Corps members, and I'm going to make sure that this doesn't happen, because this is not what Sinestro wanted. So it was really cool to see the antagonist's mission here on, you know, what he wants to accomplish, and he sends out these prism creatures to stop the Green Lantern Corps. And the one really cool moment in here, though, with Kyle and Saranic was really neat, because you see the lightheartedness of Kyle, and we get to see him offer Saranic some flowers, and he says, do you want to go out on a date? It could be some great times. And there was some really great character moments in there, which I really enjoyed. It really hit home to kind of what the Green Lantern Corps book is about, you know? And so by the time we wound up getting to the end of this mission, we wound up seeing the Green Lantern Corps defending Mogo, and you get to see some fantastic artwork in this book by, I'm trying to see who the artist was in this particular issue, by Ken Marion. The constructs were absolutely awesome. You wound up seeing some missiles, and you want to see this, like, navigational system to destroy all these creatures. It was just absolutely a gorgeous book to look at, and this is a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful book to read right now. And Hal Jordan and Green Lantern Corps, I couldn't recommend more, especially if you are a traditional Green Lantern fan. So I say pick up this book, pay for it with your hard-earned cash, read it, enjoy it. I think you'll definitely love it. Definitely pick up it, man. Just the character interactions between this book were awesome, especially again with Saranic and Kyle. But even them trusting Rip Hunter was a great story in itself. Trying to make that decision, is this the right move, is this the wrong move, because this could be crucial. This could either continue to exist, our core, or this continue to decimate it. So really awesome and pivotal moment there. Alright, next book we're going to talk about is Supergirl Being Super. Book number 3. Really great book, as you get to see the ramifications of, you know, the aftermath of what has happened with Kara and, you know, her death of her best friend Jennifer, who she tried to save, and she wound up losing her powers when she was trying to save her best friend. She had this yellow aura around her, and then her friend just died. She couldn't save her. And we can see that she's been skipping school, and she's been having a tough time dealing with this situation. And it was just a really heartfelt book, especially in the beginning of this. We get to see her go to school, and her friends are kind of judging her, and she hears that with her super hearing. It was very, very sad. And it was a tough issue. By the time we wind up getting on with this book, you know, after her dealing with the situation, how seeing her school moving on, it was tough to see that she had someone try to ask her to save her, and she's like, well, who is asking me to save her? So she winds up leaving her house, and she winds up actually going and saving somebody, and the person that's conducting this experiment is her coach. And it's like they're using these Kryptonians as this experiment, and it was absolutely crazy. So yeah, it was absolutely crazy. This particular coach is a professor or a scientist that's trying to use the Kryptonians to use it for power, for energy, for solar energy. And so Kara releases this Kryptonian, and then what happens is he gives her this, you know, ultimatum. He's like, come with me. He's like, we can save this world. And she's like, but I got my family and my friends. He's like, you're going to do them more harm than good. And little do we know is that this particular Kryptonian has no mercy for humans. I mean, this one guy came up to go take a picture, and he like fried him with his heat vision. And you're like, oh damn, this guy is much more evil than we thought he was. He has a vendetta against all Earthlings. So very interesting ending to this issue. Really good book though overall. The artwork is great. I love Kara in this book. She's very interesting. The art is cool because I like with the clothes she wears. She just wears a blue jeans, a red hoodie, and she wears like Vans. And I thought that was really cool. And the other thing that this issue did was they really explored her past about how her grandparents like discovered her powers when their barn caught on fire and she like rescued the grandfather. I love that backstory as well. So there's some great story in this particular series, and great read. If you guys have a chance to read it, go ahead, pick it up. Absolutely awesome book. Alright, so the next book we're going to talk about is Scarlet Spider, issue number 1. So if you guys want to check out a review in this particular book, Philly Superman did the review on Scarlet Spider. So I was highly anticipating this book, and this book was okay for me. But the problem that we have in this particular book is that Ben, he doesn't know if he wants to be good or if he wants to be bad. He has that inner struggle with himself, and you see those demons within him. And this reminds me a lot of Deadpool because he's talking to himself. And who talks to himself? Deadpool. The costume even reminds me of Deadpool 2 with the mouth that's showing and everything else. And it was kind of funny seeing him take the costume off of a cosplayer. I thought that was kind of neat. But everything about this book reminded me of Deadpool because of that dialogue that he's constantly talking with himself. And he even has the scars now to prove it. He takes off his mask, he's got scars like Deadpool. And I'm like, oh, don't make this a Spider-Man Deadpool comic, but within one comic. I'm like, I don't want that, you know? You get to see him struggle trying to find his identity by finding an Aunt May and a Mary Jane, and it's quite weird, you know? In many ways. The artwork was really well done, and it was just a weird book all in all. I wasn't sure what to expect from it, but in the end I was kind of disappointed the more I thought about it, and the more and more it became like Deadpool. I just didn't like it that much. The one thing though that I have hopes for is that hopefully Ben will find what he's looking for and find himself in the particular issue. That's what I'm really hoping for. And by the time we get through this story arc, and when he wears that old costume that we know that he has, that's when he's going to find himself again. And I think when this book was about to come out, they were like, oh, this is going to be the all-new, all-different Ben Reilly Scarlet Spider, but then at the same time they were in talks about doing Marvel Legacy. So that's when they decided to flip-flop things and bring him back to his original costume and say, you know what, let's not go with the all-new, all-different, you know, Scarlet Spider. Let's bring him back to the way he was, and let's just do a story arc where he struggles between himself and finding himself. So maybe that's the direction that they're going with in this particular book. So we'll see where it goes. But that was the big struggle that I had with Scarlet Spider, was that it was too similar to Deadpool, and we didn't need a Deadpool Spider-Man in the Spider-Man universe. So let's hopefully they get away from that. I think they will. I really do think they will when you see them, you know, bring back that old costume. So let's see what happens. So in the end, I say pay for it, give it a chance, give it a story arc, give it 2 story arcs. Let's see when Marvel Legacy comes out where this particular series goes. Alright, so I think we have one more book to talk about here. And the last one is X-Men Blue, issue number 2. X-Men Blue this time around was much better for me in the second issue. Because the first issue, we just got to see the team battle Black Cassidy and Juggernaut. This time around, we wind up seeing the story develop. We wind up seeing the characters develop. We get to see why Magneto wants to train these young X-Men. We wind up seeing them doing some battle in the danger room and getting ready and preparing for battle, which I thought was really nice. The artwork was beautiful in this particular issue. We got to see certain characters, their little struggles that are going on amongst themselves, which I thought was really neat as well in this particular issue. And we get to see that there's something more behind Magneto in this series than meets the eye. And as we wind up seeing Jean Grey trying to go through Magneto's mind in this book to try to go deeper into that, we wind up seeing that yes, he was hiding something, and that was that he wants to send these young X-Men back into their original time, which I thought was quite interesting as well. So overall, I thought this book was much better. It had much more character development. You wound up getting to see the story unfold a little bit more in this particular issue, and it had me now intrigued to read X-Men Blue, where X-Men Blue issue #1 kind of was just like, it was just there. You know, so I really enjoyed this particular issue. Colin Bunn did a nice job with this one around. And so I say definitely go pick up issue 2 of X-Men Blue, and hopefully you enjoy it. So, there you guys have it. There is Pay It or Slay It, episode number 10. Now, it's your turn in the comments below to tell me which books you would pay, which books you would slay. And fans, as always, thank you for watching Comic Frontline. Thank you for bearing with me as I've been sick in the past few days, and it's been tough to do this video. But thank you so much for watching. And again, don't forget to check out our live show each and every Tuesday night, 9:30, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And guys, until that next comic book review, this is Mike Spider Slayer signing off. Thanks for watching, guys. Take care. Bye.